Hey, what's up, YouTube fam? It's the NOB coming to you again. I am back. I'm being consistent. That's what this is all about. Being consistent. All right. The last video I did, hopefully that helped give you some context to kind of maybe where I am in my journey, how I kind of got to this point. So what I like I said in the last one, what I intentionally intended to do was to go over a video, just kind of listen to it together, go through some things, and maybe kind of give my 2 cents wherever it comes up when they're explaining stuff. But what I have over here, as you see on my screen, is you may or may not be aware of him. His name is DJ Blakey. And he's, from what I can understand, I mean, I guess he is one of the many DJ instructors. Has a course. If you've followed or looked into a lot of these videos online, you'll see that I guess pretty much a lot of these established maybe DJs offer courses and things like that, which seems pretty, I don't know, seems interesting enough. I may actually try one. Not so sure to be DJ Blakey's or not, but it may be. But just kind of, I'm kind of curious at this point to see, if there would be any benefit. And maybe I will do that. Maybe that'll be a part of the content that I'll do on this channel, just to see, like I say, just take a course, not from maybe a couple of different instructors that are offering them, and just see what, if there's anything, really, to see if it's of value, to see if it's of significant value. I've kind of looked at the prices on some of them, a couple of them, and they seemed reasonable. I know they offer different segments of, depending on where you are, pretty much beginner, intermediate, advanced, that type thing. And you kind of pay for a class based on what level and whatever skill you're looking for, things like that. So, I think at some point I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try one of those courses just to see what, see what comes out of it. I don't think it would make me any worse, for sure. So, and it may be worth what they're asking for it. So, but with that being said, now is not that time. I'm just here watching the video now, and this particular video is on one of the things that I mentioned in my last video that I'm going to be working on. And if you are in the same boat with me or following along with me, you're trying to learn it, you're at this particular point, phrases, transitions and phrases, and what else am I looking for? Seem like those are the two. Seem like there's another one I'm missing more. Another one that I'm missing: transitions and phrases. And those are the two big ones. Music selection. When I say music selection, I guess I'm talking about your keys. Knowing what keynotes certain tracks are at, and trying to figure out which songs have the right keynote, that they're in sync harmonically for you to actually mix. Because you try to mix something that's totally out of key with another, it's gonna sound like, I mean, I'm already trash, it's gonna make it sound even more trash. So I guess maybe if you're at a super skill level, you can kind of pull off stuff like that to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of one of those rules that you kind of need to pay attention to make sure your songs are harmonically just in tune with each other and go together. So your music selection, phrasing, and transitions. So those are the three things that I'm going to be working on. Like I said, that's what I've been working on for the past few months, I guess. I've been working working on this on and off for the past few months. I'd say probably past 4 months or so, on and off, probably more off than on. I'm going to try and be a lot more consistent this time around. So those are the things that I'm working on now and we'll be working on. So we're going to listen to DJ Blakey just talk about transitions and a few of those things right now. And let's just see what he says. Let's see what he's got.
Now, if you're learning to DJ, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed by all the different transitions, effects, and techniques out there. But the truth is, you don't need to learn everything.
And in my last video, I guess hopefully I won't over pause this too much and run my mouth, but talking about being overwhelmed, he's talking about just being overwhelmed and trying to get those things. But in your selection of your equipment, that's why something like this DDJ FLX4, that's all you need. It's this overwhelming enough with starting out with something as basic as this. It has everything you need for you to transition, to learn what you need and get your foundation so you can transition on to more advanced things and even more advanced DJ controllers. But the point I made in my last video was, you get in over your head with some of those high-end DJ controllers and you don't know anything. It's gonna be overwhelming, just the sight of the controller itself and all the knobs and the buttons. I mean, this one right here has just 2 decks on it. I mean, some of them have 4 decks, some of them are separate CDJ units. They might have 5, 6 different turntables and a mixer controller controlling all those. I mean, it can get overwhelming. So I would advise in an effort to not overwhelm yourself, start simple. Like I said, you have enough to deal with just in the performance of it yourself, just performing transitions and learning phrases and, song selections and things like that. That in itself don't let that be your focus primarily. Don't let the equipment, you want equipment that's going to aid you, not distract you even more, if that makes sense. All right, we'll let Blakey go. At least that's my 2 cents.
At this beginner stage. In this video, I'm going to show you the only 5 transitions that you need as a beginner DJ to start sounding clean, confident,
only
and
5.
in control. If you focus on just these, you'll progress way faster and avoid the mistakes that slow most beginner DJs down. My name's Blakey, I'm a DMC champion, and I've helped thousands of DJs level up through my online courses and YouTube tutorials.
Now he says he's a DMC champion. So whether or not that's true, I'm assuming it is. I don't know, but y'all tell me. Y'all tell me if it's true or not. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. Sounds like it makes sense to me.
So let's get into it.
DJ Blakey.
The fastest way to improve as a beginner is not to learn more, but to focus on less. Trying to learn everything at once is just going to overwhelm you, make your practice inconsistent, and end up with you creating messy mixes. So in this video, we're going to strip everything back. You're going to learn just 5 transitions, and each one has a purpose. Together, they are all you need right now. They're not flashy, they're not complicated, but they're effective. Now for this video, I'm going to be using the DDJ Flex 4 controller from Pioneer DJ, which in my opinion is the controller to go for if you're a beginner and you're looking for DJ equipment. And it also allows you to use the Rekordbox software for free. But the truth is, everything that I'm showing you in this video will work on any DJ controller you have and any DJ software you choose. Whether that's Rekordbox or Serato or Virtual DJ, you're going to be able to follow along with everything I show you in this video, no problem.
And he touched on some of those DJ software choices there. I've personally made it decided to go with Rekordbox. I mean, I started off with the DDJ 400 and Rekordbox was a part of that. And for me, it has been, I've gotten comfortable with it. I think it's, and I like it. I haven't tried Serato or anything like that, but I would say at this particular point, I'm just going to stick with Rekordbox. until I just get a solid foundation and get all my fundamentals. Then at some point, I may look into Serato or some of the others that he mentioned. But for now, I'm not going to let that be. I guess I'm getting back to distractions and trying to limit my distractions. I'm not going to let that be a distraction. I'm going to just, like I said, go with Rekordbox and stick with Rekordbox and get comfortable with it, get familiar with it, just get solid. So
It's because all controllers have the same fundamentals. Your DJ controller will have 2 volume faders, a crossfader, EQ knobs, headphone cue buttons, play button, etc. They all essentially do the same thing. And if you're not sure what equipment you need to get started as a beginner DJ, I've created this free beginner DJ setup guide, which shows you exactly what you need and how everything connects. If you'd like to grab that for free, then just click the link in the description. Okay, so now let's talk quickly about beat matching. Beat matching is where you have one song on each deck and the tempos of both of those songs are matched. This allows both tracks to play at the same speed and they will stay in time with each other.
Beat matching. That's excellent. He brought that up because I failed to do so. I guess I kind of, I mentioned phrases and song selection and transitions, but some of the simplest things we tend to ignore. But yes, beat matching, the BPMs, matching your beats, getting comfortable matching your beats. I would say at this particular stage, I've been going at it for a few months now. I guess I've become fairly comfortable with matching beats, matching my beats, whether it's using Beat Sync or just manually doing it. So I apologize for leaving that out, but thanks to DJ Blakey here, we're back on track. Beat matching.
And this all comes down to the BPM, which stands for beats per minute. And right here in Rekordbox, you can see that the track on the left deck is 126 BPM and the track on the right deck is 130 BPM. So I'm going to move the tempo slider on the track on the left deck until we get to 130 BPM on the left deck so that the BPMs match. So now both tracks are running at 130 BPM. It's also important to understand phrasing. So I'm going to very quickly go over that so that you can understand.
Now, just so you know, what he just did, he manually synced the beats. There's a beat sync button up here that you can push and it would automatically do that for you. But we want to learn how to manually do it, just in case, the beat sync doesn't work. Sometimes it may glitch and you may need to, manually do it. So we need to be comfortable learning how to manually beat match as well. Okay.
Understand exactly when you need to press play on the track that you're going to be mixing. Now, dance music is structured in 32 beat phrases. And what that means is every 32 beats, something in the track will change and it will go into a new phrase. And this could really be anything. This could be that the drums are taken out of the track, or it could be that some vocals are brought into the track, or maybe some percussion is added to the drums. But the rule is every 32 beats, something in the track changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the track on the left deck, and I'm going to put a counter on the screen, counting along with the beats. And just take a listen to what happens at the end of every 32 beat phrase. Something in this track will change. And it's at that moment when you need to press play on the track you're mixing in so that the phrases align with each other. So at the end of this 32 beat phrase, something will change. Take a listen.
This is awesome
So
info.
in this case, a big kick drum has come into the track. So at the end of that 32 beat phrase, that would be the moment to start mixing in the other track. Now I'm actually going to keep that beat counter on the screen for every transition throughout this video.
So let me
this
get,
will help
so
you
we want to start mixing
counter moment to start mixing in the other track.
Gotcha.
Now I'm actually going to keep that beat counter on the screen for every transition throughout this video, and this will help you get a really good feel for phrasing, and it's going to help you understand it quicker. Phrasing is not something that you need to be thinking about all the time. It's something that you will pick up intuitively and start to understand naturally as you start practicing. Okay, transition number 1. This is going to be called the long blend. And this is the simplest transition out of the 5. And we're going to incrementally increase the difficulty and the complexity. Now, the long blend involves nothing but the volume faders right here. So this volume fader will control the volume of this deck. And this volume fader here will control the volume of this deck. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the mix by playing this
Fair
track.
use.
We're then going to mix this track in, and we're only going to use the volume fader. We're going to slowly bring the volume up, and then very gently and very gradually, we're going to swap the volume to bring the emphasis from this track over to this track, and just slowly fade it out. This is one of the simplest transitions that you can perform, but it's also one of the most useful and one of the most effective, because when done right, it will create a seamless mix from one track to the other. We're not going to be using EQs for this long blend. We're not going to be using any effects. We're just going to be using the volume controls. I'm going to tap the Q button in time. And this is going to make pressing play in time easier.
I need to develop that technique.
I'm going to nudge the jog wheel here to line up the beats.
Of tapping the Q button.
And then I'm going to start fading in the track on the left deck. Slowly bring the volume up on the left deck and down on the right deck. So it's a very subtle, gradual mix.
And it looks like if you see the record box here, you can get different settings on it, but these color codings are the software, particularly Rekordbox. I'm sure Serato and the others have it too, but it kind of color codes the somewhat phrase sections of the songs for you. So when you're looking at it, you know, you may not be that familiar with the music you're playing. It can kind of, if you're looking at these color codings up here, it'll kind of give you some hints of, you know, what's going to happen. As you can see here, this is going to drop really low in this section here coming up. But just paying attention to phrases, that's what I'm struggling. If you stomach my first session, I mean, you can see that I kind of stomach with that. I've been trying to pay more attention to not, just phrasing, not counting per se, but just being aware of where the song is and not, just trying to avoid blending in poor scenarios. Like I don't want to mess up a drop per se, or, there's just some areas of the song that I want to stay out of, that I don't want to touch, because it'll just mess things up. So, but anyway, let's continue on. These phrases are super important.
Now that's the long blend. It's one of the simplest transition techniques, but it's going to work in almost any situation. And this is going to give you confidence, and it's also going to teach you control. The key here is to make sure that you perform the long blend very gradually.
Pretty basic.
You don't want to be bringing this one down and this one up really quick. It's a very, very subtle,
and this takes
gradual
practice
between the two
when you're
tracks,
listening.
And that is what gives it its subtlety,
you'll
and that's
hear
what makes it effective,
like
because it's going to create a seamless transition from one track to the other. Okay,
you'll hear
the
transition
swap, and this is where we're going to introduce.
If you don't, the way he did those faders there for the decks, that's something that you'll inherently pick up. You'll hear if you don't, you'll hear the volume drop if you do it incorrectly. So, like I said, it's going to take some reps. It's going to take repetition and time and practice to get these skills.
EQs for the first time. So right here,
all right, then we're going to the EQ mixing
EQ for each deck. This one will control the bass on the left deck, and this one will control the bass on the right deck.
Kind of where I am.
Both tracks mixing together with the volume on full, but one of the tracks
we're trying to
have the bass turned off, and then we're going to very gradually and subtly swap the bass from the right deck to the left deck. And this is kind of similar to the long blend, but rather than using the volume faders to gradually mix between two songs, we're going to use the bass EQ. And this will actually achieve the same thing. It will gradually and subtly transition from one track to the other, but this is going to prevent the bass of both tracks from clashing. And we're going to be using the EQ to separate the tracks from one another. And this is what makes mixes sound clean instead of muddy and even potentially distorted. Because sometimes if you have the volume on full on both decks and you have the bass on full on both decks, this can actually cause the sound system in the venue that you're DJing in to distort and sound bad. And obviously that's something that we must avoid. So I'm going to begin this mix with the bass on the left deck turned all the way down. I'm going to gradually fade in the track on the left deck, and then I'm going to subtly switch the bass from the right deck to the left deck.
But just like he said, I've noticed a lot in my transitions that you know, my bass levels from one song to the other song, if I bring that bass, you know, you bring the bass in too high, or even your mids or your trebles too, or your mids and your highs, it'll you know, you really have to just, I'm trying to train my ear. We need to train our ears to just be able to detect when those things are off. But you know, I'm starting to, when I'm in my transitions now and I'm starting to bring a song in, I'm starting to feel like, oh, that bass coming in on deck 2 is, you know, it's too much, it's too strong. I need to bring that out, or you know, I need to bring the highs out, or something like that, and just kind of crafting it with the EQ. So that's kind of where I am. That's the method that I tend to use. Not just the bass, but just kind of all of these here is what I want to perfect. But everybody has their own style. So I'm not saying that, you know, he's just like he's talking here. There's, you know, he's giving us 5 ways to transition. You know, everybody has a different style. So, you know, whatever style just works for you and you're comfortable with, and that's your style. You know, it is what it is. All right.
Let's start swapping the bass EQ now.
Both songs in. Now he's swapping out the bass. Deck 1 is taking over the bass. It's fading out deck 2.
It's gradual when you're moving the bass from the right deck to the left deck. And then slowly fade out the track on the right deck.
Bass finished up in time for the next phrase.
To make you sound more professional, because at this stage, we're no longer simply swapping the volume between 2 tracks. We're actually controlling the sonics of the music by using the EQs. Now, if you would like a clear step-by-step path that shows you exactly what you should be practicing as a beginner DJ and in what order, then you should check out my Ultimate Beginner DJ course. I've spent the last year talking to thousands of beginner DJs and asking them exactly what it is that they've been struggling with. And this course has been made to fix all of those problems. It's been designed to reduce overwhelm and give you a clear path that shows you exactly what you should be learning so that you can learn from the description.
Fast forward a little bit.
Okay, this next transition is called the drop mix. And this transition is really simple, but there is one thing you have to make sure you get perfect to perform this one correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the track on the right deck during the breakdown section. And this track is going to build up towards the drop. And just when this track is about to drop, we're going to bring the volume down and we're going to press play at the start of the drop on this track. And the important thing to get right here is the phrasing. If the phrasing is off on this mix, then the mix will sound completely wrong. I'm going to have the counter on the screen counting along with the beats. And you'll see at the end of this 32 beat phrase, I'm going to bring the volume down and press play at the drop on this track. You also need to be sure to press play in time, and this will just take a little bit of practice to get the timing right. Drop mixing will make your transitions feel intentional and a little bit more creative, because with this technique, you can actually really control the crowd. The crowd are
So now this technique here, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know, like I said, we're just starting out. So all you experienced DJs that stop by, you know, you're in the comments. But it seems to me now this drop transition, these are what I guess what he's getting ready to say. This is more of your hype crowd. I mean, if you're into trance or just hypnotic, you know, just long blended mixes, you know, EDM type stuff, there maybe not be necessarily as much drop mixing per se involved with that, compared to just, you know, I guess your hip hop genres and, you know, your just other type music genres. So just be aware, I guess, or just be thinking about that. Just like what type of genre of music you're doing, and if it is conducive, is if your transitions are conducive to the genre and the music selection you're doing. Okay.
expecting one track to drop, but if you perform a drop mix into a track which is even higher energy than the track on the other deck, this can actually build excitement, and it's a great way of standing out as a DJ. So at the end of this 32-beat phrase, we're not going to let this track drop. We're going to drop into this track.
This sounds like some EDM, so I get, you know, I guess it doesn't hit as hard as some hip hop.
This drop mix transition technique works in every genre. I've performed it in a hip hop set to great effect. I've even performed it with drum and bass, tech house, and UK garage. And if you get it right,
I stand corrected.
It can work really well. Okay, next up we've got the echo.
So I guess it just depends on your song selection.
This one is super versatile and also really simple to do. So we're going to be playing the track on the right deck, and we're going to apply an echo effect and then bring the volume down, and the echo will continue playing to give a clean tail to this track. This is a really simple way of exiting a track cleanly. And at that point, you can just press play on a track on the other deck. And this track doesn't even necessarily need to be at the same speed. There could even be a BPM difference of up to 10 BPM, and this will still sound clean. But for this transition, I'm actually going to be using 2 tracks of the same BPM. This will add variation to your transitions, and this is going to sound more DJ-like without adding too much complexity. The echo out effect is without a doubt the most used effect by DJs on any DJ system, and there's good reason for that. It's simple, it's clean, and it's versatile. So here in Rekordbox, all we need to do is open up the effects tab right here, and then on the DDJ Flex 4, we just press.
Now, you know, he's going into this. This reminds me in my last session, and I don't know how long I've had my settings screwed up, but the other day I got to the point I was delving deeper into the software and setting up the effects, you know, just trying to, you know, finding out, you know, where they were, because I really haven't been using them much at all since I've started. But come to find out, I had some layered effects on that were active already. So who knows how long they've been on while I've been just practicing. So just be careful when you're in here messing around with your settings. And just like I say, it's just good to get familiar with the software, which I'm like really trying to focus on, I guess, or have been the past few days, past week or so, in understanding. But, you know, I've just in my ignorance just created a kind of a mess that I'm kind of cleaning up as I go. So it's probably why, part of the reason too, why my session was trash. My music probably was sounding trash. It probably had some echo effects going slightly that you could kind of hear, maybe, that shouldn't have been there but were there. I just screwed it up. All right, let's get back to it. We're in the effects.
It's the effects select button until we get to echo. You can hold Shift and press Effect Select and it will go up the list. So now we've selected Echo. So let's quickly play this track on the right deck and I'll show you what Echo sounds like. Because we want to apply the effect to deck 2, just make sure that this switcher is set to deck 2, and then we can turn on the effect by pressing this button here, and this is the level depth knob, and this will control essentially the volume of the effect. So this will control the volume of the echo. Let's turn it off. I'm going to play the track and then I'll apply some echo and then I'll bring down the volume fader so that you can hear the echo tail. So that echo is called a 1-beat echo, and that means the echo will last for 1 beat. Let's take another listen. So you can hear the echo there. Now what you can do is you can change the beat value, which will make the echo shorter or longer. And you can do that using these left and right arrows. So if I press this twice, we're now on a 1/2 beat echo. Let's take a listen to that. So you can hear that the echo is shorter. One more time. Now I like a 1/2 beat echo, but in this scenario, I'm going to change it back to 1 beat because a 1 beat echo will give us a longer tail. And this is actually going to make the transition between the 2 tracks cleaner. Now for this example, I'm actually going to play the track on the right deck from the drop. And then after 32 beats has passed, I'm going to apply the 1 beat echo, bring the fader down, and then I'm going to press play on the track on the left deck, which is actually at the start of the breakdown. So the breakdown section is when all the drums and all the bass and all the energy of the song has been removed. And this is essentially a build-up section building up towards another drop or another climax of the track. This is the easiest way to make your transitions sound more polished. So at the end of this 32 beat phrase, I'm going to apply a 1 beat echo. So now we've just transitioned from a main energetic drop part of this track into the breakdown of this track.
Let's get that again.
So now we've just transitioned from a main energetic drop part of this track into the breakdown of this track. And now we're going to build up towards a drop. So the echo out transition is one of the most versatile transitions that you can possibly learn because it gives you control and it gives you the ability to actually manage the energy of your set so that you can really take charge of the energy on the dance floor. It's important that you don't overuse this transition technique because it's so effective that it can be quite easy to rely on. Use it as an exit strategy as and when it's needed, but do not use it constantly because actually it can make your sets sound quite dull and monotonous if you constantly use this technique. Okay, and transition number 5, this is the crossfader cut. And this is where things get a little bit more creative and more expressive. So what we're going to do is we're going to have both tracks playing from the drop, and I'm actually going to use the crossfader to cut between the tracks to essentially create our own remix of the song. For this, we're going to need to have both volume faders at full, and we're also going to need to have the EQs at 12 o'clock. Now, when the crossfader is all the way to the left, that means only the track on this deck will play out of the speakers. When I move it to the right, that means only this track will play out of the speakers. And when it's in the middle, that means you hear both. So by moving the crossfader quickly between the tracks, we can actually switch between them very quickly. And this technique is really fun and you can get super creative with it. This is great for high energy moments and it will add variation to your sets and it's going to help you stand out.
All right. Okay. That's pretty cool.
So as you can see, this is a really high energy technique. And again, it's a technique that you don't want to overuse. But in the right moment, this can be super fun, super expressive, and it's going to create
That's pretty
energy and
cool.
contrast between the tracks. As a beginner DJ, trust me, you don't need more transition techniques. You don't need flashy tricks. All you need is repetition, and you need to focus on the right things at the
Repetition.
start of your journey so that you're learning correctly and you don't build any bad habits. For beginner DJs, clean and simple will be complicated every time. So now that you know the only transitions you need as a beginner
Keep it
DJ, the
simple.
next step is understanding how to use them to build a real DJ set. So I recommend watching this video next, where I show you
Alright.
exactly how to build your first DJ set using just 5 tracks.
All right. And just so happened, I watched this video after I did my session, because my session I actually used just 5 tracks that first session. So, and that'll probably be, and that was just instinctively. So I guess that gives me that makes me feel better. One thing I want to kind of, that I've noticed, and I think I should, I think it's fairly significant, is that I greatly underestimate, one of the things I greatly underestimated amongst many was with how intimate a lot of these DJs are with their songs and with their playlist. When I first got into this, and just watching different DJs maybe do different sessions and things like that, for some reason, I just thought it was just random. They were just picking random songs, and maybe a few of them are, but it seems like more of the established and well-known DJs, they're very intimate with their song selection. I mean, they have practiced and cued like transitions, like they've practiced their transitions with specific songs. I mean, they know these songs inside out, where they're dropping, where they're looping, just it's not as random as I thought. That not nearly as I didn't realize how intimate some of these DJs were with their playlist. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because when you see some of them sometimes just kind of doing stuff, I mean, you kind of like, wow. And I mean, it's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, but don't underestimate how much time they spent on that song and practicing that. And it's just not necessarily random. A lot of practice, a lot of time went into that. So, all right, what are my takeaways from that? I'm sorry I kept talking. Please leave it in the comments. If I'm running my mouth too much, I guess I'm just trying to give my newbie perspective as I'm on this journey and just taking this information in. But out of those, what was the five ways to transition? I want to know how to do all of them, but the one that I'm going to primarily focus on is using the EQ, just all of the EQ to craft and blend music. That's going to be my primary goal, and that's what I want to do. I want to be able to blend and transition so well using the EQ that I don't need any special effects. But at the same time, I do want to know the software and know the the hardware, and know how to do some effects and things like that, if I want to some degree. But that's not going to be, I'm not going to be an effects heavy person. So in the first session that you saw with me the other day, that I didn't use any effects, any sound effects in that, and I probably won't be doing a whole lot in the it's going to take some while. Like I said, I'm focused on trying to understand the blending and crafting technique of it, and not effects. So you probably won't be getting a whole lot of effects from me for a while. No, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool session. I thought he explained things pretty nice and neatly. I just gotta, those phrases and the 32 beats. I mean, that's not something, like I said, it's not something that I'm sitting there counting myself either, but it is something now that I'm trying to be more aware of, and avoiding phrase clashes, while, just blending at the wrong moment and working on just the timing of my blending. So, all right. Well, I think that's probably going to wrap it up. I've been running my mouth long enough now. Let me see here. I have a tendency to do that. So we're gonna wrap it up. And maybe next time around, like I said, I'm gonna be in phrases. I mean, that's, I think that's, I'm gonna be here for a while in phrases and transitions and song selection, things of that nature, just those basics, because I just really want to get those strong. So gonna be here a while. I think maybe next video, I'm not sure if I will take a look and discuss another instructor, or at some point I'm gonna just record another session with me with my mouth shut and just doing a music session. So, but I just kind of wanted to, do some videos just kind of discussing things and maybe brainstorming things. And but y'all, I appreciate y'all for stopping in once again, spending time with the old man. Definitely, leave some comments, some pointers, let me know what you think. Just where I went wrong, or if there's something that you feel like I should know. I mean, let us know, not just me, let us. I mean, this is a community that I'm trying to build here, with not just myself, but all of us learning and growing as a family, as a tribe. It's the NOB tribe, the #1 boomer tribe. Appreciate y'all. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace. I love y'all.